Hi everyone, thanks for coming along as I set up another week on my planner. Let me go ahead and take this little chunky baby out. Now today I am prepping for week 18. It's still a little early, but since I will be traveling most of this week, I've started to feel like, oh my gosh, there's things I want to remember already and it's not set up, so I'm feeling a little rushed to get this going. So last week I used the layout that the planner comes with, but I am going to be switching things up for this week. This is a little sticky note where I've kept the reminders and things that I want to make sure I remember. I'm going to go ahead and leave this nearby so I can transfer the information onto these nice pages. And I am also going to fold over this planner because it's not even at all right now, and I want to make sure I write on a much more flat surface. Okay, that's a little closer to it. There we go. Okay. So what I've been considering is I'm going to be traveling from Monday to Thursday, and I should be back home by Friday. Let me get rid of these top dates. I'm just going to go ahead and completely hide them because thinking about doing more of a vertical daily layout. I'll show you guys what I'm considering right now. It's going to be a little similar to this week. I for sure been wanting to use this sticker for this month because of the colors, and I feel I'm really going to need this little saying this week, so I want to make sure to give it some room and incorporate it in this week's spread. Now I'm thinking having Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday here, and then having a long checkbox, and then perhaps keeping Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on this other side as its own little box. I know it's very weird, but I want to try it out. Since these days I'll be home and these days I'll be traveling, like that I can really differentiate where I'll be. I got lucky there with where I put my 2 lines because I actually was able to divide it exactly into 4s. So that's a good thing. Something that's great about having the grid pattern is that it makes it a lot easier to redefine how do you want your template to look. I personally get really tired of using the same one like week after week, so it's a nice way to refresh things after you've been on the same planner for a while. Wonder if I should use one of the girlies I've been hoarding over here. Maybe her? Let's go ahead and extend this onto Thursday just so I can hide those dates a little, since we won't be using this one either. And then we will be using these 3. And just so these days can look more like this one, I'm gonna also box them in. And for this side, obviously I'm not gonna write them in, but I am gonna create the same little border on the top. There we go. Okay, so I have previously written over here that I was gonna travel, so that's kind of like taken care of. I already checked out when my OB appointments are for May, and my first one for May starts on the 2nd, which is this Friday, and that's why I particularly have to get back on Thursday. And I'm going to put a day reminder for that. Whenever I have things that I want to make sure I don't forget, I try to make them stand out in multiple spots. So I'm going to put this little stethoscope up here next to Friday, and I'll go ahead and write down the time of my appointment down here. So we've got this down, and then I also have a monthly planning meeting in the morning. So Friday again. And then typically our work planning meeting is done on Tuesday, but we've switched it over this week to Monday. So that needs to stand out as well. Wonder if I should make like a fake little border for it. Don't really have this small of a sticker. Meeting. There we go. We were able to figure that one out. And this is why I like to prepare beforehand my weekly setups. So right now we're Wednesday. Typically I set them up on Thursday, but since I'm going to be quite busy prepping for the week that I'm going to be out, I'm getting ahead on it. Now this setup will not include everything I'm going to do during the week. That's going to grow on as the week starts, but it's good for me to have my events already scheduled, like that I know what's going on before the week starts hitting me with more things. Okay, so this is what I have so far, and now when I come back, I'm going to show you how I decided to separate the rest of my information regarding daily things that I want to remember. So I really must say that there is such a pleasure of finishing up a successful week, like looking back and realizing that you were productive, even though you did not finish everything according to plan, but that it was busy moving towards the right way. So in this particular week, as you all recall, this section is my travel section and this was my at home section, and it came out perfect. I did use an Alistair method that only had Monday through Thursday because that was going to be the day I drove back, and different things that I wanted to get accomplished during my time traveling. Knowing that I was going to be gone for pretty much the initial part of the week, I tried to write down things that I could still do while being away from home. So one of those kind of like major things that I took care of was everything related to my car. Obviously, I do not have to be home to do that since I was going to be traveling in my own vehicle. So I could take care of those things in a different city since I still had my vehicle with me. So I wanted to get my windshield replaced. I wanted to get a deep clean of the car seats, and I also wanted to get my windows tinted. Those are all services I could get elsewhere. So I went ahead and wrote those things in. Another thing, as you all know, this has been an ongoing story. I've been trying to find a contractor to help us update the floors in our house. So finding a contractor, obviously, most of that is going to be done through online researching, getting a couple of phone numbers, and calling them. In order to give myself a heads up, I actually did write down beforehand the number of 3 different companies. So all I had to do during the week of travel was contact them and see if we could schedule a date for the following week that I was going to be home. Funny enough, all 3 numbers, I'm not sure, I should have taken like a deeper dive, but they were all Google suggestions of different companies. And turns out each one of them was for a service that did not relate to flooring. So I gave myself some credit there. Like, yes, I did do the task, but it didn't move me closer to my goal. But at least now, you know, I was able to find a couple more numbers. So that's where we made a little bit of progress. That at least now I know that the ones I had didn't work, and we've added more to the list. A third thing that was related to my monthly goals that I was able to fit into this was that I did have to buy some paint for the interior of my cabinets. I already had primer at home, but I was aware that I had to decide on my interior cabinet paint color. So I had a couple of options already, little paint samples. I just had to decide which ones I was going to go with at the end and go to the store and buy it. So obviously that's another thing I could do during my travel, because again, I had my car, so it was going to be easy to transport the buckets of paint. And luckily that was an errand that I enjoyed doing with my dad. So we all went to the hardware store. He was able to not only give me his knowledge, but also spend time with his chatty granddaughter. So it was cute seeing them fuss around while her paint was being prepared and just walking and seeing other options. Obviously, he is a handyman, so it's nice to see him in his element and ask him and learn more about like other tips and tricks of things that I could use around the house. So again, that was an errand that obviously can be done at home, but I was luckily also able to do while on travel. And things like that really made this week feel productive. Now, did I enjoy my time traveling, visiting family? Of course, all of these tasks really don't take up too much time. Even the car clean, my mother was actually able to give me a phone number of someone who does the service at your house. So all that time I was able to still spend it with my family and not have to worry about waiting at a location or anything like that. So I think that's a good idea for whenever I travel and I actually want to be productive, to write out things from my goals that I could still do while outside of the home. So that really helped me this week. As for my weekend, as expected, it was more relaxed. I was pretty tired from the drive. So I just kept a run-on checklist of things that I could do during the weekend. And as you can notice, everything was pushed forward. So none of these things were actually done. I really just decided to take a break during the weekend. And when you need a breather, you know, you just take one. So I really like the format of this. Again, I've very much enjoyed spending that time with my family, and I was even able to see friends. So it was a great way to not only enjoy my vacation, but also keep top of mind the things that I needed to wrap up to stay on top of my monthly goals. And just to fill up the space, I did do a little bit of journaling here. Other than that, no additional things were added other than the different to-do lists for the beginning of the week and the end of the week. But I definitely felt that the format that I used helped me separate how the transition for this week was going to lay out. So I hope you guys liked seeing this, and it gave you some ideas for how you could perhaps plan also whenever you have your own travel scheduled. Feel free to rearrange a pre-printed weekly layout and make it exactly what you need. It's nice to get those little refreshers along the way to change up your system and also to help it serve you better. So that was the conclusion of this week, and I can't wait to see you guys here on the next one. Bye-bye.